Alright, here we go with lesson 85 on Saxon 76. And this lesson is teaching us how to do operations when you have mixed fractions and decimals within the same equation. So the problem is that, let's look at problem A. We have a fraction of 7/10 and then we're subtracting the decimal of 6/10. So the rule is we need to get these both in the same form before we try to do any operations on them. But we need to know which form to do them. Do we want to stick to fractions or do we want to use decimals? Well, in this case, they're going to tell us. It says solve and write the answer in decimal form. So that means I have to convert this 7/10 out of fractional form and into decimal form. Well, we probably remember how to write that. That's just 7 in the tenths. This is our tenths spot. So there's 7/10 minus 6/10, and it's sometimes easier to see how to do this if we line it up as a column. Decimal comes straight down for addition and subtraction. 7 minus 6 is 1. So 7/10 minus 6/10 is 1/10. And I'm done there. So B is 3.7 plus 2/5. Well, we're going to have to convert this 2/5 to a decimal because we want to answer in decimal form. So let's go over off in our margin. If we know what this was in terms of tenths, then we could write it as a decimal. So let's convert 2/5 into tenths and see what it's going to be. Well, 5 times 2 is 10. If I multiply the bottom by 2, I've got to multiply the top by 2 in order to keep an equivalent fraction. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 3.7 plus, and instead of this 2/5 fraction, I'm going to write 4/10 as a decimal, which is 0.4. Alright, let's sneak off into our corner and do 3.7 plus 0.4. And you get 7 plus 4 is 11. 3 plus 1 is 4. The decimal goes straight down. And I get 4.1. Alright, I want you to try to do problem C by yourself. And D, do C and D, and then come back and we'll do them together. So stop the video, get them done, and then turn the video back on and see how I do it. Alright, if you're a good student, you turned off the video. So let's do it together now. We're trying to get in decimal form, so I have to convert this 68 hundredths into a decimal. Well, that's 0. I know I'm going to end on hundredths, so that's where my 8 goes. 0.68 minus 0.34. I'm going to go off into my corner, and I'm going to do it in a column form. 0.68 minus 0.34. 8 minus 4 is 4. 6 minus 3 is 3. 0 minus 0 is 0. Bring down that decimal, and I get 0.34. Alright, let's do 1/10 times 34 100ths in decimal form. Well, I got to convert that 1/10 into a decimal, and that's 0.1. Multiply that by 0.34. And let's just do the work over here. We're going to have 0.34 times 0.1. That's going to be 0. We do this multiplication, we're going to get zeros for this line, and then 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 0 is 0. Sorry, I know I ran out of room, so I'm writing it down here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers after the decimal in my problem, so I need 4 numbers after my decimal here, and I get 0.340. So it's 0.0340. So for the next set of problems, it's asking us to solve and write in fraction form. So now this set, we're going to have to convert the decimals into fractions and then do our subtraction or addition, whatever. So here I have 7/10 minus 0.6. Well, that's the same as 7/10 minus, and that's 6/10 right there. I can just write that directly as a fraction. I already have a common denominator of 10, so 7 minus 6 is 1, and I have a denominator of 10. It's 1/10. All right, now we've got 3.7 plus 2/5. Well, this 3.7 is not in fractional form. So let's come over here and let's figure out what that's going to be. Well, 3 and 7/10 is just 3 wholes, and then we have 7 over 10. So 3.7 equals 3 and 7/10. So I'm going to be adding 3 and 7/10 plus 2/5. Well, here I don't have a common denominator yet, but if I look at it, I can say, okay, well, my common denominator is going to be 10, because 10 will go into 10 and 5 will go into 10. So I've got 3 and 7/10 plus, and then to convert 2/5 to tenths, I multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So that'll be 3 and 7/10 plus 2 times 2 is 4/10. And I get 3 and 11/10. Kind of move this off to the side here. All right, so if you've got 3 and 11/10, this here is an improper fraction. So let's combine that with the 3 and take away 10 of those tenths. So if I have 11/10, that's the same as taking a whole one out of there and making that 3 up to a 4, and I'll have 1/10 left over. So there's your answer for B. Now let's look at C. We have 68/100 minus, and we've got 34/100. And 68 minus 34. Well, we did that up. If you look back up at problem C above, it was the same problem, only up there we were doing decimal, but we did 68 minus 34, and we got 34/100. And we could actually reduce this because the top and the bottom are both divisible by 2. So I can divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, and I'll end up with 17/50 as my final answer. Problem D. 1/10 times, well, this is 34/100, because 0.34 means 34/100. All I got to do is multiply it. I get 34 on the top, and I get 100 times 10 on the bottom, which is 1,000. And I can divide the top and the bottom here by 2, because they're both even, to reduce it. 34 divided by 2 is 17, and 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. All right, problem E. I've got 3/4, and here I have 2/10. So I've got 3/4 times 2/10. I end up with 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 10 is 40. And we can reduce that. We could divide the top and the bottom by 2. And we'll get 3/20. And we're done. So the tricky part here is to make sure that you pay attention to whether they're asking for you to convert everything into fractions or everything into decimals before you do your calculations. All right, that's lesson 85.